There is a moment in every conflict where the decisions made in the first week start showing their consequences. We are at that moment right now. And what I want to do today is not tell you who is winning or losing. What I want to do is show you, decision by decision, move by move, exactly where the miscalculations happened. Because when you see them laid out in front of you, you will not need me to give you a verdict. The picture will speak for itself. And the question that will be sitting with you by the end of this is whether there is still a face-saving exit available, or whether that window is also closing. Let me start with the most basic question being asked right now. Why would Iran negotiate? What is the point? 3 weeks. They will be able to hold their position for the next 3 weeks, maybe longer, and by then the damage will already have been done. In Western supply lines, in Western commodities, many things will not be able to be produced without helium. Many things will not be able to be extracted without sulfuric acid. This is going to change dramatically. And to understand how we arrived here, you have to go back. Before the 1970s, before America changed the whole formula, because before that, Iran was a major power in the region, a major regional power, a major civilizational power, a major Islamic power. Then in the 70s, the United States made a deliberate decision to make the Sunni emirs and monarchs of the region their proxies, and to put them in direct opposition to Iran. And together with Israel, who used this to contain, weaken, and undermine Iran for decades, that became the architecture of the entire region. That decision, that one strategic repositioning in the 1970s, that is where the first miscalculation was planted. Because it did not eliminate Iranian ambition, it compressed it. And compressed ambition over enough time does not disappear. It builds pressure. And now Iran, which has been planning its return since 2003, is unfolding that plan. The return of Persia to prominence in the region, after all these years since the revolution. Then came 2006. After the war in Lebanon between Israel and Hezbollah, Dick Cheney was complaining bitterly. He said, "What has happened? The Iraq war was supposed to weaken Iran. The Lebanon war was supposed to weaken Iran. Neither worked." He had with him in that meeting Prince Bandar, then the head of Saudi intelligence. And Bandar said, "Listen, we can sort this out. The king says, and the king knows, the weakest point for Iran is Syria. We can cut Syria. And apart from an actual collapse in Iran, cutting off Syria and its lifeline to Hezbollah is the next best thing we can do." Cheney said, "How would you do this? It is too difficult." Bandar said, "Islamists. We will do it with Islamists. We can do that. And you do not have to be involved." That was the second miscalculation. The belief that you could engineer a Sunni arc across the region in direct hostility to Iran, and that Iran would simply absorb it, would simply accept the new arrangement, would not adapt, would not plan, would not wait for the moment to reverse it. And so now we are seeing the move to shift it back to what it was. Iran emerging as the dominant power. The states, the monarchs, the emirs of the GCC taking a subordinate place in the new paradigm. Now, where do we go from here? Because this is the Iranian plan. They have had this for decades. And now, perversely, only because President Trump opened the door with this war of choice, Iran has been able to put it into full operation. The IRGC spokesman has already said it directly. They are implementing it now. Only they will determine who goes through the Gulf. And now there are sources from multiple places implying that America may be about to do something on the ground to try and shake this up, to take away the Iranian capability. The missiles are apparently going to continue to rain down. So the question being asked in Washington is, if we go in on the ground, in addition to what we have been doing in the air, will that compel Iran and force them to open the strait on our terms? And this is where I want you to slow down and look at this carefully, because this is where the miscalculations stop being strategic and start becoming operational. Start becoming something that costs lives. The geography of Hormuz is the most unforgiving terrain you can imagine. This strait has been fought over since the 1500s. The Portuguese established forts all along Hormuz to control it, and eventually it was taken from them and ended up with the British. But Hormuz is terrible terrain. Iran's coastline along that waterway extends for 2,000 kilometers. 2,000 kilometers of cliffs, mountains directly behind, and honeycombed into those cliffs, anti-ship missiles. In the mountains, air and fire control. Iran has 270-degree fire control over the Hormuz Peninsula. Not from missiles, simply from the mountains behind. That is where their artillery is, close enough to control the strait by artillery alone. But it does not stop there. They have high-speed submersible drones, speedboat surface drones, aerial drones, and something that is not even being put into the conversation, approximately 25 mini-submarines. And unlike larger submarines, these mini-submarines can actually operate inside Hormuz. It is not a deep seaway, but the mini-submarines are built exactly for it. So where are these troops going to stage? How are they going to get there? I hear people talking about Apache helicopters and Osprey aircraft. For goodness sake, that part of Iran is saturated with man-pads. Man-portable air defense systems that would bring down an Osprey or an Apache without difficulty. It is very easy terrain for Iran to defend. Bare, rugged mountains, cliffs. There is no land. There are about 3 small beaches along that entire 2,000-kilometer coastline. 2,500 Marines. 1 Marine Expeditionary Unit. That is 1 man per kilometre of Iranian coastline. Then the 82nd Brigade comes in, light infantry. No heavy armour, no heavy weapons, just the food they carry on their backs. How long does that last? Where does resupply come from? And what is Iran going to do in response? Iran has made it clear, if there is any attempt to take the islands in Hormuz or to take Karg Island, they will attack the remaining infrastructure across the Gulf states. And people are not looking at the wider landscape of what is happening. You cannot just look at Hormuz and nothing else. Look at Iraq. After the United States bombed elements of the official Iraqi army, Prime Minister Soudani gave the PMU, the Hashd al-Shaabi, formal permission to join the war against the United States and against Israel. And they are mobilizing. They have been mobilizing in Erbil, attacking Kurdish forces and American bases in Erbil heavily, driving the Kurds into a trap with Iranian forces waiting on the other side of the border. And now they are massing on the border of Kuwait. They are enraged by the attack on the supreme leader. Iraq is a majority Shia country. The Ayatollahs of Iraq have declared a mandatory defensive jihad against the United States and against Israel. The Iraqis are advancing, mobilizing at the border of Kuwait, at the borders of Syria, ready to join this war fully if America escalates, or if the UAE escalates. And then the whole topography of the war spreads. Turkey will undoubtedly want a say in Syria. It will place its forces there. And in Lebanon, Hezbollah is not waiting. 21 Israeli Merkava tanks destroyed in a single day. 21. And the crews with them. 8 tanks the day before. They are suffering enormously. Hezbollah is attacking the whole of northern Israel. Settlers are unhappy. They want to leave. They want to abandon the townships in the north. And inside Israel, Naftali Bennett, likely the next prime minister, has said publicly, "We have lost this war. We are not achieving any of our objectives in Iran. We have lost with Hamas. We are losing with Hezbollah. We are losing the wars." The chief of defense called an emergency. It is in the Hebrew papers today. He said, "I am putting up 10 red flags. We do not have the troops for this. We are so short of troops. We cannot fight all these wars at the same time." And RUSI, the Royal United Services Institute in London, has confirmed that Israel has run out of self-defense missiles, standoff missiles. 16 days into this phase, gone. And so has America. America has had to remove 1 carrier. The other is now far offshore. So when we talk about troops landing in Hormuz, we have to take the full picture into account. What would that mean? It would mean the war widens, becomes a regional war, perhaps even a sectarian war. America would be in the middle of it without a single friendly staging point in Iraq. We are talking about something entirely different from what is being described in that cabinet room. And that cabinet room, that is where I want you to focus now. Everyone's sitting there saying, "Oh, it is wonderful. Iran is begging for a negotiation. They are failing. We have defeated their air force." What Hegseth is saying is simply untrue. They do not have air superiority over Hormuz. An F-18 was just shot down over Bandar Abbas. The Iranians have been slowly showing their hand, not all at once. And now we see that they do have air defenses, and they are quite efficient. Here is what Pete Hegseth actually said. Listen to this carefully. He said, A-10 Warthogs and Apache helicopter gunships are flying strike missions inside Iranian airspace and throughout the Strait of Hormuz at will. He said, "You only send these slow, low-flying, close air support platforms when the enemy has no meaningful air defenses left. Their presence," he said, "is proof that Iran's air defenses are gone. Command and control shattered. Top leaders hiding underground. Mid-level commanders being crushed. Fighter morale plummeting." Now let me place that next to what is actually on the ground. An F-35 has been shot down. An F-18 has been shot down. At least 11 MQ-9 reconnaissance drones shot down. 13 American military bases in the region described in their own reporting as all but uninhabitable. And yet this is the basis on which a ground operation is being considered. This is the intelligence picture being presented to justify sending 2,500 light infantry Marines into the most defensible terrain on Earth. There is no understanding at that level of what they are actually facing. To claim air dominance is just untrue. There are only some areas of limited penetration. The vast majority of all attacks on Iran are being carried out by standoff weapons, standoff cruise missiles, JDAM missiles, and America is running out of those too. RUSI says perhaps 10 more days, then they will be exhausted. After that, there is nothing left to fire from a safe distance. And to suggest you can fly an Osprey into hostile territory against a 1,000,000-man army, and that is not even counting the militia. The Basij is another 1,000,000. These are enormous forces. To send 2,500 Marines against that, it should be a real concern to every person in that leadership. But instead, Witkoff walks into that cabinet meeting and says, if Iran does not take this opportunity, woe betide them. This is the last chance. Sit down and sign the 15 points. They are not interested in those 15 points. They are done with all of that. We are now in the decisive war for Iran. This is their existential war. And they are going to prolong it for as long as it takes to meet their objectives. And part of those objectives, Hormuz as a permanent source of income. They are already talking about $800 billion a year from the fees they will charge every vessel passing through that strait. And they are already collecting. Pakistan paid $2 million. Other ships are already paying. All of it circumventing the dollar. Going around the wall of the dollar sphere entirely. Through new payment mechanisms the Iranians have already built and are already running. They control Hormuz by artillery alone, before you even get to the missiles. And this past week, Iran revealed something they had been holding back. Not the Khorramshahr 4, this is the Fatah 2. Hypersonic, flying at 18,000 kilometers per hour. And when it re-enters the atmosphere, it has a secondary rocket engine that ignites, making it steerable. It can perform a ballet around any air defense missile fired at it. And while Hegseth claims America has air superiority, Iran announced missile dominance over Israel because they landed 2 major missiles directly on Dimona, right next to the nuclear research center, and on Arad, causing massive damage. Dimona is the most sensitive, most heavily guarded target in Israel, and Israel could not put up a single air defense response. Not one. The Iranians are saying, in direct contradiction to everything coming out of that cabinet room, we have missile dominance. You do not have air dominance. We have missile dominance over Israel. These two narratives do not touch at a single point. One cabinet is describing a desperate Iran, sending gift tankers to Trump, begging for diplomacy, on the verge of collapse. And then there is the Iran that is actually on the ground, collecting payments, landing missiles on Dimona, mobilizing forces on the Kuwaiti border, executing a plan that has been in motion for over 2 decades. The miscalculations are visible now. Decision by decision, move by move, exactly as I said at the beginning. And the face-saving exit, if there is one, is getting narrower by the day.